Is it possible to grieve the loss before they're gone for good? Oh yeah, of course, because you're a normal person. You have empathy, compassion, kindness. So your good memories of them create that grief, because there has to be an understanding of a loss and letting go. So that's the most, like, the thing is with the narcissist and somebody of this nature, it's like, when somebody passes away, right? They die, and it's like you miss them and you wish certain things could have happened, but you hold on to these beautiful memories of that person, and you're never going to experience that with them again. The narcissist is very different because they're not dead. They're still alive, but you grieve and mourn the memories that you hold on to that most likely they don't exist in their mind. So it's like, they're pretty much like an empty shell, and that's not the part that you remember about them. You remember all the good things that might have been fabricated, but not to you, because you're a normal person where you felt these things. You actually genuinely cared for them. You loved them at one point. You thought that they felt the same way. So now when you separate from that person, or if they're gone for good, of course you're going to grieve. You have to go through a mourning period. It's the normal thing for a human being that actually cares and feels. They don't feel that way. That's why it's so easy for them to move on, and that hurts us, because we're like, wow, I'm still healing and grieving over this person, but they just moved on with ease, So that should make it easier once it's gone. What should make it easier once it's gone? Or once they're gone, I guess. So that, or once it's done. Well, sorry, my dyslexia. The pre-grieving acceptance makes it easier to leave. Well, that's a spectrum also, because when we're about to leave, we start to notice we're going to miss them, we're not going to have this with them anymore. And then once we do leave, and you start to move on, you start to accept it, where nothing makes it easier, right? Because they've implanted themselves in your mind and your heart through invasion, through covert invasion of those entities within yourself. So the grieving process takes a long time. It's like if you went out with somebody and that person was an asshole, by the third or fourth date, if you gave them that many chances and you're like, okay, I'm done, I'm never seeing you again, you're not going to think about that person. It's very easy to detach from them and be like, okay, that person's not good for me. But this is very different, because they've covertly got you addicted to them. So with them acting sweet and loving and thoughtful and kind, you thought you actually found somebody that was good for you, somebody that was meant for you. So when it's gone to complete shit, and then you're finally getting away from that person, you have to go through a grieving stage. Otherwise, you would be the narcissist. So this is something that's pretty much the most painful thing for most of us that have gotten out of this type of a relationship, is we all go through this period of grieving and loss. We feel sometimes lost also, because that person became almost like our lightning rod for everything. Because whether it's to make us happy or to make us sad, it's like they had full control over those things. So now it's like going into a cold turkey detox for being either a drug addict or an alcoholic, where you start to grieve because certain things are gone forever. The good and the bad. Nobody wants the bad stuff, but the bad stuff is, what starts to put us into a state of fight, flight, or freeze, right? So the grieving stage is something that we all go through, but we don't know how long that's going to take. And you're over that grieving stage is when you see that person, especially if you have to because you've had children with them, and you have no feelings for them anymore. It's just like somebody you see at work, right? Or somebody that you haven't seen for a couple of decades that you went to high school with, or somebody from the neighborhood growing up. when you see, your ex-narcissist and there's no triggering feeling within your heart, your body, your mind, you've actually finally succeeded in getting past them and over them. Because you could see them, it's like, oh, that's my ex. I know how they are, I know who they are, but there's no feelings or connection to them. That's when you know the grieving part